Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us once again. We're going to be finishing Thanos today, our part 3 of our video series regarding this tutorial. It's pretty much done, but we just have some final pieces to do on it, like the background and such. If you choose to blend, you can definitely blend in some of these areas. And because we're not inking this, we're only applying pencil to it. It is going to be a question of how dark do you need to go, how dark do you want to go, and sometimes the blending stick helps us get to where we need to be value-wise. On some of these little energy circles, again, they're not bubbles. It's supposed to represent energy, crackling energy that's popping around him. So, like, if you remember the old Star Trek series, when they would teleport, the pictures of them would vanish, and you had this energy that would replace it, and eventually that would disappear as well. This is the same idea. And using a circle graph just kind of helps you make those perfect circles. It is time consuming, but it is worth it when all is said and done. The ends always justifies the means, for me. The smaller ones you can probably get away with freehand a little bit easier, but maybe some of the bigger ones you can use a circle graph for. For my classroom audience that are on my computer right now, just wanted to remind all of you to check the poll and answer the question in the poll for your participation today. I'd forgotten to do that earlier, so I just launched it, and it is there for you to look at. You want to do that before our 30 minutes is up. What the blender does, it just kind of solidifies the value a little bit, makes it a little bit smoother, a little bit stronger, a little bit more solid. It is possible to overblend if your drawing becomes all smoky and smeary. That would be evidence of overblending. There just wasn't enough pencil down at first, so make sure that as you blend you always apply enough pencil, otherwise it will get smoky and smeary, and that's not a good look. Again, primarily using a number 2, or I'm sorry, a 2B pencil. And the 2B pencil, whether it's in a mechanical pencil like this or a pencil like that, is soft enough to give you good values. Some artists will go darker still with like a 4B or a 6B, but with a 6B in particular, you're really getting close to like a charcoal softness of pencil, and don't really need that for this type of illustration. With this background, I'm probably not going to blend too much, but on the other hand, maybe towards the back area I can blend it a little bit to make it a little bit more solid, a little bit more concise as far as the value is concerned. And with this, it just takes a lot of layers. And it may make more sense on this area to use the wooden pencil, because the pencil point is a little bit thicker. It does cover a little bit more ground, but you still need to apply the layers. You can add a little bit of pressure. You don't want to go full bore down on it, because you don't want the graphite to get shiny. And working with bigger areas like this does make sense to use a bigger blending stick. Again, covers more area. And also another reminder, when you're dealing with this much graphite and this much blending, use a protective sheet over your drawing. It'll save you a lot of heartache after you've discovered that your hand is covered in graphite and it's kind of smeared it all over the place. Many of you know that to do that by now, but even I forget from time to time. I just get a little bit too excited and then just forget a simple thing like grabbing another sheet of paper and placing it underneath my hand. For those of you in our video audience, our YouTube audience, you may not know we have returned to in-person learning in the form of a hybrid schedule. And so I am giving my demonstrations now from the school at which I teach, at Shadow Ridge High School. And so I have an online class this afternoon, and somebody asked, one of my students asked, how many students did I have physically in the classroom today? And so I had two classes, and first period had, or second period rather, had 5, and my third period class, or fourth period class, had 3. So still not a huge number, but they were all here ready to go. They seem to be enjoying it a little bit, which is a good thing. Glad to be out of the house, I'm sure. When I got back to my classroom last week, the calendar on the wall said March of 2020, and that was the month in which we went to shutdown here in Nevada, in Las Vegas, and I hadn't been back in my classroom. Well, that's not true. I hadn't been in back in my classroom teaching for exactly a year. So from March 2020 to March 2021, my room sat mostly vacant. But we are back now, and we are trying out this new hybrid schedule. Some kids like it, some kids hate it. And once we end the school year here in May and then start back up again in August, we'll see what has changed. We may have a similar schedule. We may have an adapted rather. I think online learning is here to stay, so I think there'll always be an online component from this point forward. While we are making progress against the virus, I don't think it's going to be completely eradicated in 6 months. So I think that there will still be some who would rather stay home, particularly if the student population increases. The more kids, the harder it is to keep track of who's sick, if they're sick, and stuff like that. So I don't know where you're watching from, or when you're watching this, but I hope that everything is well with you, that you've survived the COVID virus. It has changed our world, to be sure. I think by now everybody knows somebody who's been affected by the disease. A lot of cross-hatching. And again, your details are there, but just to have to make sure that your values are consistent. Not that they all have to be the same value, but by consistent, I mean you let your darks be darks and let your lights be lights. And have them consistently be in between with those middle grays as well. I think sometimes you'll surprise yourself if you think a value can't go any darker, and then you add a couple more layers on it. You'll find that most of the time, yeah, you can go a little bit darker. As long as it doesn't become shiny, you're in good shape. Okay, Megan, I see you. See your comment. Thank you for letting me know. So I've heard that the Snyder cut of the Justice League movie has posted to HBO Max. Has anybody seen it? I heard it's a whopping 4 hours long. Some say that it's better than the original, which I hope it is. My gosh, we've been waiting for this for a long time. And if you're going to add it was already 2.5 hours. I think if you add an hour and a half, 90 minutes of footage, I hope it improves it. But I have not seen it. I do not have HBO Max, so I will have to find an alternative. Apparently Darkseid makes his debut. And Darkseid is like Thanos in the DC universe. Thanos likes to wipe everything out. Darkseid likes to rule everything, run everything, and if you don't do what he says, he'll zap you with his Omega beams and you're toast. I almost said literally, but no, he doesn't turn you into toast. Well, Mackenzie, school's giving you a lot of practice. One of my students asked me, or said in the comments that they can't sit still for 4 hours to watch a 4-hour movie. But with these hour and 45-minute classes, you're getting some pretty good practice. Are your other teachers using the full hour and 45? Just out of curiosity. Oh, that's nice. Question for those of you who are in the class. My plan for next assignment is to do something more independent. Allows you to choose your topic, subject, resources, and medium, which means if you want to do just pencil, you can do just pencil. If you want to add color, you can add color. How you add that color, if you want to do colored pencils versus markers, you can do that. How many people out there in the class thinks that's a good idea and would like an assignment that's a little bit more wide open? Okay. All of the classes so far that I've polled, and you will be the last one, are more or less positive to the idea. There's a few dissenters, but obviously there'll be some structure, some categories, some guidelines, things you should stay away from, things that you should strive to do in the assignment. We can cover that once I introduce it, which would probably be by next live session. So just be prepared. You're going to be able to branch out on your own just a little bit. I think some people will love it. Other people might be mortified by it. So we shall see what happens. If this works and you guys do well with an independent assignment, we can choose to do more independent assignments before the end of the year. If this is a shipwreck, then we will go back to having things a little bit more structured. So it's up to you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to call this done. So our Thanos is finished. Thank you very much for joining us for these series of videos. We will see what we come up with next. If you liked the video and want to see more, please click subscribe so you do not miss our next installment. Have a great